POCO F4 GT is a high-end gaming phone manufactured by Xiaomi, running on the Qualcomm Snapdragon 8 Gen 1 chipset, with plenty of gaming-focused features, especially the trigger buttons at the top. We've just unboxed it on the Tech Travel Geeks YouTube channel, so if you haven't yet, make sure to check it out. But in today's video, we'll go through the entire setup process, from software installation and some basic settings, to features specific for this device, like configuring the trigger buttons and the notification LED, so make sure to stay around to learn more. To set your phone up, you'll need a few things. Obviously, the phone itself, a SIM card, or two if that's what you need, a SIM ejector tool, or a paper clip if you've lost it already, your Wi-Fi password, and your Gmail password. The SIM tray is on the left of the device, so take it out and insert your SIM card with the pins upwards. Make sure you have the SIM card fairly in though, as it kept on falling out for me. Once we have the SIM card in, we can switch the device on to see that it's powered by Android and specifically by Xiaomi's MIUI, currently on version 13. We start by choosing the language, and it's correctly recognized as English UK, and the region, which again is correct as I'm based in Scotland. Next, we have something I've not seen in a while, even on recent POCO phones like the POCO X4 Pro 5G, namely the keyboard selection. I'm a fan of Gboard, so I was happy with it for sure, but if you want to use Google voice typing, you can do that as well. Then there's plenty of terms and conditions from Xiaomi, so if you want some bedtime reading, go ahead. Next, the Wi-Fi setup. You have your password handy, don't you? Somehow I managed to enter it incorrectly on the first attempt, as I was doing it from memory, but it worked on the second attempt, so it's all good. I have to admit that the next stage of getting the phone ready took a bit longer than I expected, 1 minute and 8 seconds, which seemed like an eternity. So I'll speed it up for you here. You can then decide if you want to copy existing files and data from your old device or just go from scratch. I like to have my device clean each time, and most of the things are already stored on my Google account, so I always choose not to do it, but it's up to you. Speaking of Google, you can now log into your Google account. There's a small skip button on the left, but I'd avoid it, as accessing Google will allow you to download apps from the Play Store, etc., so it's definitely worth it. If you have two-factor authentication, and you definitely should, you'll need either your old phone or access to your email, so make sure to approve it as requested. There's some terms and conditions, this time from Google, so make sure to agree. There's also some permissions for backing up to Google Drive, the use of location services, Wi-Fi scanning, user diagnostics, and automatic app updates. I went ahead with all of them, but it's up to you to decide what to do. Next, we have my favorite feature of POCO devices, setting up the fingerprint scanner, which is always great in my opinion. First, you have to pick a different method, something that you remember, like a PIN, pattern, or password, so that nobody can unlock your phone, for example when you're sleeping. But once you've entered it twice, you can start scanning your fingerprint. The scanner is on the power button, which is my favorite place for it, and it's been working great so far. Speaking of security, once you're done with the setup, you can also add further fingerprints to make the scanner even more accurate. Just pull the settings shade from the top right corner and go to settings, scroll down to passwords and security, and from there you can add another fingerprint. You can also add face unlock from the same menu. It's been working quite well for me, but just remember that it's not as safe as some other methods, so it's up to you if you want to enable it or not. And we seem to have a déjà vu. It's asking me again to pick the Google services. Have you already forgotten Google? Do I mean nothing to you? At this point you can either continue the setup or finish it later. I was actually heading for a walk by the beach just after this, but I wanted to complete the setup, so let's do it quickly. First, it will ask you if you want to use Google Assistant on your device, so I went ahead as it's quite useful. If you haven't set it up in the past, you'll get asked to record your voice so that Google can recognize you more easily. You can also decide if you want Google Assistant to work when your phone is locked, again up to you. I was then asked if I'd like my MasterCard set up, but I skipped it for now, especially that it's not a card I use a lot. To finish off, you can add another email account, especially if you have a work one, change the font size, the wallpaper, or review additional apps. Let's go with the wallpaper. For some reason, I always pick the same one, so let's go with it, both for the wallpaper and lock screen. In additional apps, it's always just Google Pay, and I'm never sure why it's there, but that's all good. We're almost there, the phone just needs a couple more minutes to finish the setup. And on the last screen, we have some final settings from Xiaomi, similar to the Google ones, as well as enabling the wallpaper carousel and access to the user experience program. And that's it, we're finally done with the setup. Loading the home screen took another 20 seconds, and end to end, the entire process took just over 10 minutes. Not too bad. As mentioned, when setting the phone up, I was in a bit of a hurry, but I wanted to make sure that I had the basics done, so I went to settings and changed to dark mode, as it's my preference, especially on this gorgeous AMOLED screen. I also prefer using gesture navigation nowadays, so I switched from buttons to full screen gestures. If you're not familiar with gestures, you can always go through a tutorial from POCO. And that was me. I then disappeared for a few hours and took some amazing photos and videos from the beach. Make sure to check the unboxing for some more examples. When I got back home, I was happy to see that there was a software update waiting. It gave me a newer security update from Google, going from February to March 2022. Interestingly, it also potentially fixed an issue for me. I noticed that despite selecting dark mode earlier, the app drawer had a white background, which is not what I wanted. So I went back to settings and confirmed that it was the dark mode indeed. I then tried to change the background again, but it was already set to system. What's even worse, the background was white, but the text was also white, making it disappear in some places, but visible on others. Not sure what that was about. However, once the software update finished installing and I rebooted the device, the background was back to dark, and the text was white again as expected, so all good. Not sure if it's thanks to the software update or if it was enough to just restart the device. When it comes to the software, it's what you'd expect from a Xiaomi or POCO device. We have MIUI 13 with Android 12, with all the usual features you'd expect. Unfortunately, as of filming in early June, the software is still stuck on the March security update, which isn't ideal. But one of my favorite features is the app drawer with automatic categories. Swiping up on the home screen will show you all your apps, but when you then swipe left, you'll see all the categories like communication, entertainment, photography, gaming, etc. The categories aren't perfect though. Adobe Rush, which is an app for video editing, was under entertainment instead of tools or potentially photography, but you can always edit what appears where. Plus, you can also add your own categories or remove existing ones if you don't need as many. Speaking of the app drawer, let me change what the scroll bar looks like. If you go to home screen settings and the app drawer, you can change scroll bar from original layout to A to Z, which will add the letters on the right, in case you want to jump straight to S for Slack or similar. There's so many ways to customize MIUI that I won't bother you with them all, like the usual changing of the color scheme of the screen or the screen refresh rate, which on this phone can be either set to default, which will adjust it accordingly, or to set a static custom value, either at 60 or 120 Hz. I went with the default mode on this device. But there are some more custom things you can do on this device, and obviously the main one is to configure the trigger buttons. When you go to special features and pop-up triggers, you'll be able to change the sound effects for the buttons. Just remember that they won't work when you're in silent mode. You can also configure them to perform some actions. For example, double pressing can open the camera or start recording video. There's quite a few choices here, so let's hope POCO continue adding more features here. But to really configure them, you have to do it on a per game basis. They're not treated as hardware buttons, but instead as virtual presses on the screen. We've already shown you briefly how to do it in Sonic the Hedgehog in our unboxing video, but let's go through a full setup in a more modern game that's just been released, Diablo Immortal. To start with, you need to open the Game Boost app and ensure that the game you want to add is there. Press the Add button and find it. Once you open the game, you'll see a wee line at the top left corner. Start the game, and while playing, swipe from the top left to open the Game Boost menu. At the bottom, you'll find the Shoulder Buttons menu. Once you press it, the left and right buttons will appear, and you just have to drag it to where you want the button to be pressed. In my case, the two weapons. Then, when playing, you can just keep on pressing the shoulder button instead of making sure that you hit the tiny on-screen buttons correctly. I'm definitely enjoying this much more than the touchscreen. I'll probably do a separate video about game support to see how useful it is for different game genres, maybe even comparing it to one of my game controllers, so make sure to come back soon to check it out. There's one more special feature of this device, the RGB light at the back. It can be used to let you know about incoming calls, notifications, or when you're in the game turbo mode. For both calls and notifications, you can decide on separate colors and how often it will flicker. And you can also decide which apps will trigger those notifications. Maybe you don't want it to flicker when you get Call of Duty notifications, or maybe that's exactly what you need. And that's entirely up to you. When it comes to pre-installed apps, it wasn't too bad this time around. There were a few random apps I don't use, like Spotify, TikTok and Agoda. A few I will use, like Amazon, Facebook and Netflix, and just one game, Genshin Impact, but it's just an installation file. You'll have to download all 15 GB of it as usual. With the phone out of the box, I had around 30 GB used out of 256, so not too bad at all. Plenty of storage for some quality gaming and photos and videos. Overall, I'm really happy with the software experience of the POCO F4 GT. Everything is super smooth thanks to the most powerful chipset and very high refresh rate screen. MIUI is as configurable as ever, and the additional gaming features make it an even more appealing device, especially for gaming fans out there. At the time of writing, I've been using the phone for around 10 days and I've been really happy about it. However, stay tuned for the upcoming review. I'll share more about the gaming and camera performance for sure. And that's it for today's video. Hope you found it useful. Let us know if you have any more questions or if there are any games you'd like us to check out, both for performance and the usability of the shoulder buttons. We'd be happy to check it out. If you haven't already, make sure to subscribe with notifications on to be informed when we release new videos. But for now, thanks for watching.